Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB Bikini Pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. Today, we are not speaking with any average competitor. This IFBB Bikini Pro is a United States Marine Corps major with 15 years of service, a Naval Academy graduate, former Division I swimmer, and wife to a fellow Marine officer, and a mother of two. This powerhouse earned her pro card in 2024 at Masters USA after years of persistence, including a return to the stage after a long break to have kids. She's also a coach and business owner through her brand, Built by Brewer. Heather's journey, now you know who I'm talking to, includes actively recovering from nearly 2 decades of bulimia, and I'm really looking forward to talking about that. And she's passionate about sharing the intersection of mental health, motherhood, and mission-first discipline. So welcome to the show, Heather Brewer. How are you doing?
Hi, Celeste. I am doing so well. Thank you. I just want to say I really am so excited for this and so appreciate the opportunity. You and I have been following each other's journeys and have been connected on Instagram for quite some time. I want to say since 2018, maybe.
I think so.
I
think it was 2018.
Yeah. And so it's just great to finally have a face-to-face conversation with you. So I'm super stoked.
I'm so happy too. It's wonderful to have you. And, I've got to start by asking if there's anything you do, think about, or maybe a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage.
Oh, I wish I could say I was organized and calm enough to have this ritual behind the stage. I'm anything but I would like to say that, there is a focus there and there's a lot of nervousness, but I'm really just super grateful. I'm thinking about my husband. I'm thinking about kids. I'm thinking about all the advice and just encouragement my coaches, my family, my friends have been, giving me, leading into the show. So yeah, I kind of just zen. I really focus on pumping up. That helps with the nerves, and if the DJ is really good and the music is playing, that really helps too. Because of course I'm dancing and just, getting loose and getting ready to enjoy the stage. So I guess that's a ritual in a sense. I don't know.
Definitely. Yeah, it sounds like it's something you consistently do. And I think it's amazing that you think about your family. Sounds like they drive a lot of what you do.
Almost definitely, for sure.
So you're a Naval Academy grad, a Marine Corps major, Division I athlete, you're a wife, you're a mom. How would you personally define or describe each of these roles and identities?
Obviously, the military side has pretty much always been there. For those that don't know about service academies or the Naval Academy in general, you are literally attending those universities to eventually become a commissioned officer. And in the case of the United States Naval Academy, you are going to be trained and developed into a commissioned officer of either the Navy or the Marine Corps. So I'd like to say that, do I balance all the hats and wear all the hats? Well, sometimes I don't. But the thing is, once you've been doing something for quite some time, it just becomes who you are. And yeah, I was a Marine officer. I am a Marine officer, but really once I became a wife and a mom, I really felt that it brought everything together, if that makes sense. Whether it was giving me a purpose or whatnot, I don't know. It was just the whole, it just filled the void, if that makes sense. So yeah, looking back, I identify with all the things, but really the most thing I'm proud of is being a wife and a mom. If I had to, say anything else about that.
Wow. Wow, that's so beautiful because you're very accomplished and I can relate. I feel like as soon as I met my husband and fell in love with him, I
Yeah.
got to know more of it was almost like I freed a part of myself that I didn't ever get to free before. And um, he just became like this new focus and purpose in my life. And I think it's amazing. You know, your marriage, you're both military, right? So, how has it been raising two young kids while you're both active?
It's difficult. But you know, the thing that helps is we're a team. Not and for those who aren't married and like, but you know, through your relationships, your friendships, whatever, not everything's always going to be 50-50, right? Because life seasons, when life's, you know, sometimes it's just one person's going to give 30, can only give 30%, or, you know, and someone's going to have to pick up the slack. And something that I love and respect and admire about my husband and I and our dynamic is just we're best friends. You know, we know each other so well that it's just like if we see the other struggling, we step in. And I think that after becoming, you know, a wife and everything, like I finally found my person that I could trust and depend on and like be myself, because I felt like that was missing for like the 30 years or so, you know, before I met my husband. And when I finally got that, it all clicked. So yeah, I mean, we just work it. Like communication is key. I mean, I'm not saying we're perfect by any means, but like I wouldn't be able to do any of this without him. Like
Mm.
it's a team effort through and through.
How did things change when you found out you guys were starting a family?
Um Honestly, we wanted to start a family. So background of my husband and I's love story. We like I'll try to keep this the short version. We met, got engaged, got married, got pregnant within 3 to 4 months of like dating each other. So everyone thought we were crazy, right?
I
Um, but we were so excited to have a family because when we like met, we were just like, do you want to do this? Like, you want a family? Like our priorities aligned, and we were just like, let's do it. And we haven't looked back. You know, it's been almost 9 years. It'll be 10 years next year. It's crazy. And it's just like, wow, like we have 2 kids now. Who would have thought? But I think it definitely like made us better. Like I said, it made me like when I became a mom, just like gave me purpose and everything just clicked, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's the most incredible thing when you think about it. What a powerful way to live your life for somebody else, and clearly that's something you guys really wanted from when you first met. And I would be really curious to know like how your approach to parenting um, is it influenced by military values or disciplines? Is it something that maybe people wouldn't expect?
I mean, I think the military influences us whether we want to or not, right?
Yeah.
Because when like, you know, they have a large say in our schedule and what we do. Um, but the main priority to us, especially, you know, as we continue to add to our family and our kids get older, is just we always want at least one parent to be there. It's so important, that family dynamic, just because, like, I grew up, you know, I'm one of 8. And I just remember not having my parents around as much, you know, and not saying that I had a bad childhood or anything like that, but now that I have my own family, like I want to be a present mom and my husband wants to be a present dad. And so I think what we do is we just try to prioritize our family time together. And you do that by making the time, right? It's never just going to happen. You just have to make the time. And whether that means like, hey, I got to go get fasted cardio in at 3 a.m., you know, and then we high five each other because my husband's a competitor too. He's getting in his cardio at 4 a.m., right? Like it's just what we do so we can be able to have the time at night to like play with our kids and, you know, spend time as a family, eat dinner, etc. So I think figuring that out and prioritizing that family time has really, really helped us. So I don't know if that's, you know, considered weird or anything, but it works for
I
us.
hope not. Oh my gosh. I
Right.
know,
No, like,
should be normal, but it's not always. And I still love hearing it. You know, I like hearing
yeah.
everybody's approach.
Yeah. And like, you know, sometimes if that means I can't do a home cooked meal and I'm ordering pizza just so we can like be in bed by a reasonable time and no one's stressed and there's, you know, so be it.
I love that you just said that.
Yeah. It's just like not every day is going to be perfect. You just try to make the best of each day. Like my husband and I have a saying, it's like better every day. And it's just like, hey, I had a crap day yesterday. I'm not going to let it affect me today. And we just move on and go from there.
I really, really like that because I think there's so much pressure, especially when you're in the world of fitness and you value health and you value relationships. We have this tick every box mentality a lot of the times. So then it's you can either fall short and let it derail everything, or you can fall a little bit short and go, well, okay, I just need to pick back up and move forward. So I'm curious how that's reflected in your own journey because you have been open about struggling with bulimia and talk about all or nothing approach, generally these extremes. So do you mind opening up about that?
Not at all. And if I get a little emotional, I apologize. It's just, this is the first time I've actually really talked about this. Only like my close friends, clients, some family members know that I unfortunately subjected to myself and struggled with this, you know, for bulimia and eating disorder for 20 years. And it pretty much started, I want to say maybe the senior year of high school when it was just the pressure of getting into college and, you know, um, being successful. And because I'm the first person in my family to attend college and graduate.
That's
And so
amazing.
it was just a lot of like unknown, right? Because I didn't have anybody to talk to me about it because I was the first one doing it. And being a swimmer, for those that were, you know, year-round swimmers and everything like that, like you are practicing twice a day in the morning, the afternoon, evening. And yeah, it kind of started as like, oh, like I want my dream body because we're all insecure at that age, right? And it unfortunately dissolved or evolved, but really like got into me being like, it's kind of like a control measure, I hate to say, especially when I got to the Naval Academy, because for those of you that don't know about it, you're told when you're getting up, when you're eating, when you're doing your homework, you're going to classes. Then you got to balance that with, you know, being a varsity athlete and everything. And then your military obligations on top of it. I just remember feeling so out of control, especially after the unexpected passing of my mother at 19. I just, what was the one thing I could control? What went in and out of my body? And it first started off as that restriction, right? And not to age myself, this is like 2005, the early, you know, like 2010s. And I think if you know around that time, that's when like Pinterest was really popular and everybody was talking about cardio and like don't eat carbs, calorie counting. And I went from this restrictive mindset to binging, right? And then feeling guilty about the binging to eventually bulimia. And it was just one of these things that spiraled for me, and I kept it from a lot of people. So, and it unfortunately got worse for me after I left the Naval Academy and got commissioned as an officer, because unfortunately, you're not, at that time, you don't want people to know you're struggling, right? Because, you know, not a lot of people talked about mental health back then in the early 2010s, right? And I didn't want anybody to know that I was struggling with this disorder, because the thing is, if I can't take care of myself, how am I expected to take care and ensure the well-being of the men and women within my charge, right? So to go back to your original question, it honestly took me becoming a senior officer, a wife, and like eventually a mom to finally be like, we need to do something about this. Like, you need to talk to somebody. We need to find ways. You need to identify your triggers. We need to find ways to overcome it, because again, I don't know, I can't speak to other people who struggle with eating disorders, but for me personally, I don't think I will ever get over it, if that makes sense. What I've learned is that to identify my triggers and then just try to mitigate it as best and channel it into something else. You know what I mean? And I think that that was what really, really helped me eventually get over it. And competing was the big part of that.
Really?
Yeah, which is crazy, right? Because, you know, the body dysmorphia and the pressure, but there was just this sense of like ownership and control. I guess my type A
So
personality, you know what I mean? Like, it just really, it just aligned with that, what I felt like I needed. And I just learned to use it to my advantage. And, you know, it's worked for me since. And I understand that that's not the path for everybody, right? And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I haven't had a slip up or anything like that. But it really helped me, again, channel and refocus and shift my mindset from being so obsessed with food, right? Because that's ultimately what an eating disorder is. You're just obsessed with food.
Oh, yeah. And for those listening who don't know, like the difference between binging or binge eating disorder and bulimia is with binge eating disorder, you're just consuming, you're not compensating. Whereas with bulimia, there's a compensatory behavior that follows the eating. Generally, that can be through purging. So that could be like vomiting, or it could be overusing laxatives. It could be overdoing exercise, restricting calories the next day, doing extra exercise, restricting food the rest of the day. So it can look, unfortunately, can look a lot like what people preach in the industry, which is why I do so much of what I do, because of how often I see it. It's unfortunate that it's almost become normalized, and it has been for a very long time. This normalized idea that you have to earn everything you eat. I can't even tell you, Heather, how many clients I have who come to me and they're so worried about eating on a rest day. And I've been there. That was me, been there. And then I'll send them that TDEE chart to show them, like, no, you got to eat no matter what. Because it's that cycle too. If then they eat, the guilt.
Right. And it's the guilt, and it's a vicious cycle. And I just want to commend you, Celeste, for what you do and what you bring to this community. And I just think it's so brave of you, because, like, again, we've known each other since 2018. I don't remember ever seeing anybody as vocal about the bad side of competing and everything like that. And you were that person. And I just want to commend you for that, because like you said, yes, unfortunately, it is a big part of what we do as competitors. And it is a big, I don't want to call it a problem, right? But like, it is a problem. And it is a problem.
I'm with you, girl.
I don't want, but you know, it is unfortunately normalized, and everyone just says like, that's just how it is. And, you know, and it's just, I just wish more competitors or people talked about it. And again, I'm just grateful that we're having this conversation and get out there, because it is unfortunately a problem that majority, I'm not even gonna say, like, pretty much everybody goes through. And if if anyone says otherwise, they're either superwoman, superman, or they're liars. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, you know what's so funny is every time I do an event and like I'm talking about stress management or something, I'll ask people like, oh, have you ever dealt with this? Or raise your hand, you know, and if people are like kind of slow to raise their hand, I'm like, any one of y'all that doesn't raise a hand should come up and teach this, because trust me, I still deal with it. And if you know the hacks, tell me. But when it comes to food relationships, something else that I think is important to keep in mind when it comes to competing and it comes to our body is there is this difference between something like an eating disorder compared to something like, let's say, depression or anxiety. And even anxiety somewhat could fall in line with this, but we'll put it in the other category. So what I'm trying to get to is, like, when it comes to seeking mental health support, it's less common for people to seek support for an eating disorder because on some level, they believe so strongly it's serving them. So, like for you, it was that control, it was intertwined with grief. And then you add on top of that, now it affects your physique positively, or it allows you to look a certain way that at the time was idolized. And then we conceptualize it as this is not a problem because look how good it is for my life. And so a lot of people don't seek support, or they don't know they're actually creating bad patterns.
Right. Well, but then also too, they don't see the physical toll of what they're doing to their bodies, right? Like other than the obvious of, weight fluctuation and everything, like for me personally, my throat like was
Mhm.
for stomach ulcers, right? It affects your teeth. And then like it causes, retention and bloating in your face. And I just look back and I'm just like, I wish, because like I see the signs now, but it was just like, I don't know. Like, I just wish someone saw that, if that makes sense, and called me out on it, just questioned me. Like, cause I feel like if I would have been confronted with it, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I would have done something or been forced to do something about it sooner. Because it really took, like I said, me meeting my husband and like just being vulnerable and myself with him. And then obviously, for him to call me out on it and just be like, Heather, like your mother died of a heart attack. What do you think happens over a certain amount of time when you're, been bulimic for this long? Like that causes heart issues too.
It does,
It like
major.
really like woke me up. And I was just like, you're absolutely right. And I did not seek professional help. Um, and again, maybe it was my mindset at the time, being, a young officer and not wanting to put it out there. But like I said, I found ways to talk about it. And then I started reflecting on it more in the sense of like, okay, when I'm feeling, because you brought up anxiety,
Yeah.
stress, right? When I'm feeling this, what is it that I want to do? Like, why do I want to do that? Why is it food? And then I just quickly realized, oh crap, my sleep is shit. You know what I mean? Like, oh crap,
So
like I'm
true.
like completely vitamin deficient. No wonder like my cravings like are already bad, right? It's just, and it just started piecing it all together. And that's why I started learning nutrition and everything too, as I was like competing and training. And it was just like I said, it just helped me out all in the long run. But really, it was my husband that was just like the mirror, like, here,
Yes.
Heather, look at yourself.
Yes.
It was that way.
Oh, true. Yeah. And I think had he not expressed that to you as honestly as he did, it probably wouldn't have been as big of a wake up call. It's difficult for loved ones to go, you're going down the same path as a family member who's not, we don't want to create that path.
Yeah.
So for him to be willing to say that because he cares that much about you and he could see that it was wrong, is really amazing. And I tell people seeking professional help is great, but there's also so many professionals, unfortunately, who don't understand, especially from the physique or the sport or athlete side of things. And it sounds like you navigated it so well on your own, just with that fire lit in you to do it. And like you said, there were slip ups and times that it was maybe more challenging than others. And it takes, this is another thing, whether you hire someone or not, like if someone were to come to me after this and say, I'm going to do your 5-week food relationship program, I'm going to do your free series, no matter what, they would still have to put in the work with the resources, with the coaching. And that takes commitment, daily focus, and a consistent commitment towards identifying these things and applying them. So when you said, okay, well, what is it that I really need, right? Is it more sleep, more vitamins, more relief of stress? What is it? And then you have to consistently apply that. Otherwise, your brain will go down the path of least resistance, which is binging.
But you also got to just admit that you're vulnerable. Like that's another thing too, is like, you got to admit you have the problem, right? So you can take ownership in that process and do the work, because like, being a coach and everything like that, none of that works unless the client is willing to do the work. And, some want to, some don't. but you just hope, that they eventually will. But you're exactly right. Like you have to do those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate you being open about this. And
Yeah.
you said that bodybuilding was positive for you in this regard, which is also really cool. I'd be curious to hear how your like preps look and how you transition from prep to improvement season, knowing that that's oftentimes like it could be a trigger point for a lot of athletes.
Oh, definitely. And so I think so I didn't start taking competing seriously until 2019 when we were on Team Edge together at
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
You remember?
I
Yeah.
do remember.
Yeah. And I loved, they were all about meal plans and stuff. And I liked that structure. I thrive on structure. You know what I mean? Like that's what I do. But the thing that I realized after that 2019 season was like, oh crap, what do I do when I'm not prepping? Like, and again, like I didn't know that much about macros or anything like that. I mean, I had an idea, but I didn't know about it. And I just didn't like that. I didn't like feeling lost because, again, as a trigger, right? Because I don't know what I'm doing, I'm trying to figure it out. Like, I just knew that, it was not going to help me in the long run. So when I did, find Fit Body Fusion, like they taught me macros and micros and the importance of that. And then, based off everything I was learning, from my standpoint, because I'm an ISA master trainer and like all that stuff, I was putting it all together and I was like, man, macros is so freaking cool because it's just like, it's the ownership in the process for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I have an understanding of what is going in my body and if it works or if it doesn't work for me.
Exactly.
Right? And it's the flexibility because, work happens, life happens, mom life happens, whatever. Like I loved finally being able to be like, oh, I am not stuck with this meal plan. Like it's not that all mental, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
mentality where it was just like, oh, if I don't nail it, like whatever, if I don't have this, like it was being able to, we call it pivot, you know what I'm saying? And adjust. We call it adaptability. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I love like, so that definitely helped. Once I joined Fit Body Fusion and I learned macros and micros, I really feel like that really got me going as far as competing goes. And I'm sorry if I'm getting away from your original question.
No.
I think you asked me about like the difference between like my improvement season
Yeah.
and prep. So that was another thing too. I competed in 2020, which was fun, right? With COVID, all the gym closures. And I just remember like, once I was done with that season, I was like, man, I really want to take the time because the stage is always there, right?
Yeah.
Like, I really want to take the time to build the strongest foundation I can. So when I do step on stage, I'm not working I'm not working with the bare minimum. You know what I mean? Like you can't cut from nothing, right? Like what's the point if you haven't built the muscle, right? And I just told my coach at that time, I was like, I will take however long I need. And when you say it's go time, let's go. And I left it at that. And it took 4 years, right? I obviously had my daughter in between that time, but like,
Yeah.
I worked on it the whole time. And I don't know, it just helped my relationship with food because there was no pressure, right? Like I'll get there when I get there. And the gym was enjoyable and everything like that. So I kind of look at it as just like, yes, it's improvement season, but it's like my life season. And if like, it's my goals. And if it's, I'm going to work towards my goals and I don't want to look at it as like the deadline, like I have to have it done by this. I think that makes it worse for me personally, like pressuring myself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and just to have a coach that understands and supports that just was a game changer for me personally.
Oh, that's incredible. Like to be able to do that. I think you need to have less pressure because we put enough already on ourselves. And then when you have an approach that allows you to just really treat it like a lifestyle versus I have to do it because I'm competing in X amount of weeks, or I have to do this in order to then step on stage in how many years. I think it's nicer if we can really prove to ourselves like there's ebbs and flows, there's going to be natural progressions to this. And you had obviously taken that time to grow, to improve, to give yourself a better foundation, to then be able to cut from. So, how did that improvement season affect you and your success as an athlete?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, so it allowed me to be like the wife and mom I wanted to be at that time because I breastfed my children and I never wanted to cut that journey short, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
to chase like, a stage date. So once, my children decided they were done, like, then I was like, okay, mommy can focus on herself. And then, and it just went from there. And I think it takes, you got to eat a lot, right? To keep up with supply and everything like that. And I think I got up to like 3,400 calories. Like if that makes right. But I mean, I obviously had to make up for the loss of muscle, right? Because I wasn't as active as I wanted to be, especially the older I got in my second pregnancy. So I was just like, when it came time for me to start training, because I was like, oh, I can drink energy drinks now. Like I can take, you know what I mean? Like pump, because you couldn't do those things
Yeah.
nursing, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, we're gonna go get it. Once it was time to go in the gym, like it was time. And I just remember when I started my 2024 season, and I was going through a lot of stuff. Like I had a deployment, I had some family deaths, and our family dynamic was kind of changing. Was it stressful? Yes, but man, was it just such a peace of mind to know that I had my time in the gym to like look forward to, because everyone calls it their therapy. Like I really leaned in on that last year during my 2024 season. And so prep just felt, I don't want to say it was easy, right? Because prep's not meant to be easy. But it just felt right. I felt ready and I was hungry, like not just physically, but you know what I mean? Like I was hungry to compete and get back on that stage.
Are you a competitor looking to make mental gains and further your personal development? Are you struggling with the post-show blues or feeling the pressure of prep? Maybe you're lost somewhere in the middle and not sure what's next. If you really want to make peace with food, your body, and your goals, then I highly recommend you check out my competitor card deck, which can be found at www.celestial.fit/cards. This is a free resource for competitors, and the deck includes 3 different series. One is affirmations and I am statements. Another is the thought-provoking question prompts that you could journal on or just think about. And the last deck includes action steps with specific mentorship that is going to support you in those areas of which I just mentioned. So whether you're looking to feel better in your own skin, develop a healthier relationship with food, feel more motivated, connect deeply with yourself, or really get into your mindset to bring you closer to your goals, then these cards are for you, and I would love to see you utilizing them. Again, you can visit www.celestial.fit/cards to download yours right away. So I guess there's a couple things I want to go back through, because when you came back, you obviously like had success coming back. You had first competed in 2019. You earned your pro card in 2024, though. So you went from 4th at Universe to 7th at Nationals and then 15th at USA's. Then you took those 3 years off and you came back to win your pro card. So during those 3 years, sounds like you prioritized family life. Your body really became the vessel for your children in so many ways. And then it was like this freedom of, I get to really pour back into myself. Like, so prep probably felt easier because you're so grateful, to be honest.
I laugh at the word freedom because I was like, my body is mine. Like for the last almost like 2 years, I was busy making, a baby and then, like nurturing that baby. And then I was like, yes, like freedom is the perfect word. So yeah, when it was time for prep, I was like, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Yeah. And I went in with 0 expectations. Like I will say that because again, I will reiterate like the relationship I have with my coach, Jessica Reiser. I tell her like, hey, when you tell me I'm ready, like, but until then, I'm your typical good Marine. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Like following orders, like, and that's it. That's just how I view it.
Yeah, I think that's really good, actually. And with your feedback, I mean, like for me personally, at my most recent show, I was like, I'm not getting feedback because I'm not planning on competing ever again. Did you know that you were gonna go from USA's to no? You're like, you didn't know you were gonna get pregnant and do the whole thing. Okay.
I the thing I'll talk about my 2020 season is, and for those who look into my competitive history, I have never won first. Like, I think I got first in like a novice. I've never won an overall. I don't even think I ever placed higher than third in open. And then like at the time they're like, let's do a national show. And this was 2020. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's go. So my first time on the national stage was Universe. And like, I had brought my son at the time, he was 2, brought my husband. Like, this is my first time like being on the national stage. And I'm telling you, Celeste, I blacked out. I don't remember anything about, because I had never been around that many competitors. Like, it was huge. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm here for the experience. I'm so excited. Can't wait. And I got 4th at that show.
Yeah.
So as far as feedback, like, I didn't have any. I just went in to get the experience. And then the feedback I got was like, you know, a little bit tighter, a little bit more conditioning. And then glutes will always be a problem with me. Like, glutes are something I'm always doing and working towards. And, you know, but you saw my 2020 season, I didn't get better. And at that time, like, I really wish I would have called it, but like the competitive, you know, nature in me, I really wanted to keep going. So I took that experience from 2020 and that feedback from 2020, and I used that as fuel, right? As like a plan to navigate like my 2024 season. And so like when I started prepping, it was like, we know we're doing glutes. Like, I'm very quad dominant, so I don't train legs. Being a swimmer for like practically all my life, I have a big back. Like, that's not an issue. It was pretty much shoulders and glutes. That's all I did. And yeah, my 2024 season went to the, I forget the name of it, San Antonio Classic in October. And I just went there again, 0 expectations, but wanting to compete and get my feet wet because it's been 4 years, right? I brought my kids. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. And I got first in my class, but I didn't get the overall. And the feedback from Sandy was more glutes. And so there was this conversation, this honest conversation between my coach and I was like, you know what? I really want to go for Masters USA. And she was just like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know how much glutes I can grow in like 3 to 4 weeks, but like, let's just see, you know, because I hadn't been on the national stage in so long. I was like, I'd like to get that feedback, especially since now I'm a Masters, you know, athlete. And I went, and again, Heather was 0 expectations, just happy to be here, like enjoying the experience. I got my kids eating rice cakes, you know, like the audience cheering for me. I ended up getting my one and only overall. I got it at Masters USA's, and mind blown. So I say this to say, I don't know if it helped me going in with expectations, right? But like, I did not have like that, what's it called? A gradual line of like success and progression, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In this sport. And I don't want to call it luck or anything because I did the work, right? But I mean, I'm just super grateful, and that experience and journey is mine and mine alone. So whether anyone can relate to that, I don't know, but that's what happened during my 2024 season.
Well, I think it's a great reminder that what our placings are shouldn't dictate what we decide to do next always, because sometimes it's just a matter of like really trusting and following through on what is best versus letting a placing like inflate your head or deflate your head. Because we've all seen it. You could go from being so close, like you had, to then feeling like, whoa, it may not happen, but you didn't let that stop you. You instead like came back, you let go of expectations. Was your mindset for like the 3 years between that you were gonna get back on stage?
Yes. I mean, the ultimate goal was to get back on stage because I obviously wanted to be a pro one day, but I know that that's not a guarantee or anything like that. Like, I knew that for me, it was going to take a little bit more time. So I was just like, I'm going to just do the work and not put this deadline on myself. Cause I like to think I get better with age. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I just, again, that whole 0 expectations, just trust in the work and the process. and then the journey. And then, yeah, just trying to, embrace that side more, if that makes sense, rather than the end goal. I think
Mhm.
what really helped my mentality, because I don't think a lot of people talk about when it comes to competing and prepping, they don't talk about the mental like strain prepping like puts on you. It's just as much as a mind fuck, you know what I mean, as like it is physically hard, and so when you're not in a good spot mentally, emotionally, like it's gonna unfortunately bleed into, physically, right? But like, and it's
Mhm.
just your body carries that. And so I think knowing and experiencing all that during my 2019-2020 season, and then just embracing the fact I'm going to take the time that I need to be my best or most successful really, really helped me. And yeah, set my 2021 season on the strongest foot possible.
Yeah, that's so awesome. And this is something you always said you've been wanting. You wanted to win your pro card. So when you did win, you then went on to make your pro debut. So what was
Well, I haven't made my pro debut yet. I'm working on it now.
okay, so you're
I'm working on it now. Yeah, yeah,
during
yeah.
your
Sorry,
your pro
yeah,
debut prep. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So for some reason I thought you did make a pro debut. So then when you decided, okay, I got my pro card, I'm not going to make my pro debut, what was going through your head and how are you preparing now?
So I wanted to really nail my reverse, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
full transparency, because I was to talk about what we were talking about earlier, like our placings and stuff, and how we can let that kind of make us spiral and get depressed and down on ourselves. I'm not going to lie, like it almost triggered me back into my eating disorder and everything. Cause 2020 was already a crazy year due to everything going on. Right. But to get that close and then to get progressively worse, essentially, I was just like, man, like this is really, really hard. So the post show blues were a real struggle for me after my 2020 season. And so I just remember telling my coach and my husband, like I said, regardless of what happens, like
Mm.
during this season, like I really want to focus on my reverse, nailing my reverse, balancing out my hormones, and eating more food and backing off on cardio. Like I really want to nail it this time around. So that was my focus after my 2024 season and after I turned pro, because again, like I want to set myself up for as much success as I can, or the strongest foundation I can, before pulling the trigger for a prep, if that makes sense. But I've been, doing that diligently, and I've been lifing too. I took a break from social media, right? Because nobody talks about, it is a selfish sport, but it does take a lot, right? And it takes away time with family, friends, and everything. And I just felt like I needed to just focus on my family and my kids and everything like that. And now that I'm back, I'm just like, whew, that was a nice break. I just wish people like just talked about that more, if that makes sense. Like it's okay to take a step back and take a break. Like you don't have to be going all the time, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to go all the time if you feel like there's other areas of your life that really need your attention too, because it can start to weigh on you. So, how long was your break from social media and what did it do for you?
Honestly, it was almost 6 months. I think I just got back on social media like a week ago, um, maybe 2 weeks ago. And I like it. I really do. I love sharing my life. Don't get me wrong. I love being transparent, everything. But scrolling sometimes and seeing everybody's highlight reel, right? Or, it's just, I don't want to do that to myself, because, I let that stuff trigger me or, undermine me in the past. And I don't want that right now, because why would I want to start with that mentality, if that makes sense?
Oh, oh,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
No,
No,
yeah,
you go.
so yeah, like so I took that break and I'm excited. I feel refreshed, if that makes like it just I feel refreshed. And I
Yeah.
feel ready to start sharing more, and um yeah, getting back after things, and just seeing what happens.
So awesome. I think it's cool that you were able to take that break and also that it felt good and refreshing for you because social media, Like the way the algorithms work, I mean, it's designed to show you the same things. Like,
Yeah.
so if you're looking at competitors on prep, let's say, like, then you, it almost feels like it creates this false reality of like everybody does this, everybody looks like this, everybody's focused on their plan in this way, everybody's sacrificed. But it's like a very zoomed in, extreme version of a small part of our reality and of our world. And then when you get yourself out, like even just walking around the mall or a local community or sitting at a coffee shop, you see more variety of people and interests. And it's like, oh, yeah, wait, like this is all really great too.
There's a life outside of this? What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. That's why I just think it's so important to kind of take a step back. I mean, I think it helps me. It helps me realign my goals, right? Like, because again, balance. There's no balance in life, but I do believe in alignment, if that makes sense, and just aligning with what works for you during that time instead of like constantly trying to fight it. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, you don't realize until you take that break and take that step back.
Right. Yeah, if I even go a couple days without posting, I mean, for me, it's a little difficult with business sometimes, but I'm like, if I go a few days, I'm like, this is strange. You know, like in some ways it's like very nice. My version of implementing like a refreshed social media experience is I feel kind of bad, but sometimes I don't really scroll through my main feed or like check things. My explore feed is very like unique compared to bodybuilding. Like there's actually not a lot of bodybuilding stuff on my feed. Yeah, it's really interesting. Like most of the stuff on my feed is like, well, sometimes my dad will send me like reels and stuff. So I like get his brain. I'm like, what is on your algorithm? But it's like dogs or stuff.
Yeah.
Other things that interest me, nature, places to see in South Carolina. Like, and I love that when my feed gets like this, like it just shows me different things in my life. And I try to save those things or send them so it keeps showing me other things or funny memes, you know.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I think mine's like cats and like spouse, like funny spouse reels and stuff like that, and like mom life in the sense of like, trying to survive your your toddlers and everything like that. I think that's
Yeah. Okay. Also, let's go back to what we very first said when you came on. Like, your house is freaking beautiful. And I'm like, like, how do you do that?
So again, this is probably not healthy. It's probably some symptom of ADHD or I'm not sure, but I've just always been a clean freak. I'm the type of person that if the bed's not made or if like my workspace is not clean, I'm telling you, I cannot focus. And then especially like when I come home, like this is supposed to be your safe space, right? I cannot relax if it just feels chaotic, if that makes sense. So yeah, I also like what they call it, like therapy cleaning. Like, like the gym's my therapy facility.
Yeah.
Cool. So I don't know, maybe I'm a crazy type A perfectionist. I'll tell you my astrological sign. I'm a Capricorn. Like maybe it makes sense. I don't know, but that's just what works for me. So it doesn't feel like something I like, I don't know. Yes, it feels like I have to do it, but it doesn't feel like a chore to do it.
Yeah.
Would that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's amazing. My question is like, where is everything? Like where's your kids' stuff? How are they involved
in their rooms? It's in their rooms. They bring it out, like, but they just know, like, when I'm done, I put it away. And like even my now 3-year-old knows that. She knows, like, hey, like, I'm done with these blocks. If I want to bring out, like, if I want another toy, like, I gotta pick them up, and like, I'll help her and everything like that. But yeah, like, my son is really good. He's almost 8. He's really great about it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I just taught them, like, yeah, you just clean it up and there you go. And I guess, this is my parenting. I never, some parents like parent proof the house and everything.
Yeah.
I never did that. Cause like how I was raised was just like, if mom and dad say don't touch it, you don't touch it. Like, you know what I mean? And like, that's what I told my kids. So like, I never had to put anything in the electric circuit, you know what I mean? Cause I was like, don't touch it. Like, and they just eventually like, okay, don't touch it. So I don't know. Like, I don't
Wow.
know, third or fourth will be like that if I have more kids, but so far it's worked.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really amazing. I love that you've started them with like daily routines and habits of
Yeah.
just putting things away before taking other things out. Um, as far as like you and your evolution, there's been evolution also in like your stage presentation, going from short hair on stage to long hair. Like that was, I was like, I wonder what really inspired that.
Oh, well, I remember that was the beginning of my 2020 season. And so if you can see in my short hair, if you look up, like my back was just way too shredded, like so shredded that my coach at the time was like, yeah, are you open to extensions? And I was just like, yeah, I guess. And then we just went from there because like, I understand, like, you know, especially the more muscle maturity you get, right? And, you know, the more condition you get, like, that's very hard for me, like, because I get very lean and conditioned in my upper body and in my lower body. So sometimes like I have to find ways to hide it. And so extensions was that until I grew out my hair. I love the short hair look. I'm not gonna lie, I miss it.
Yeah.
But I remember Sandy was just like, yeah, it's a good look. But then, you know, and Sandy was just like, maybe we'll consider extensions because it was my back. So that was the reason why my stage look went from so dramatic short hair,
Mhm.
long hair, because it does matter, right? If I don't fit the criteria, I don't fit the criteria. And I understand that.
Yeah, and looking like balanced and symmetrical in bikini being
Mhm.
so important.
Huge. And like the feminine, right? The feminine shape and muscle, like, right. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, you can't be looking like you have a figure girl back, you know, like, and I get it. I get it.
Kind of wish though that it was okay because I love seeing
Love
people's
back
back
days.
development.
I love back days.
Right?
Yeah, it's my favorite. I don't do many.
You
But
don't need to with your background.
no, I mean, I think I, as of now, like I only do it once a week. Everything else is pretty much glutes. I do like one shoulder, one back, and then 3 glute days. Um,
That's cool.
I don't know. Glutes are kind of like
It's your
that's
focus.
oh, such my focus. That was the feedback that I got before my pro show. Obviously, it was glutes.
Yeah.
Or my pro when I
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that's what I just always am working on because I'm just so quad dominant. Like there's just, you know, you got to make up for it. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
How do you is being in the military, is it physically demanding on you still?
So that's the thing is there's a certain criteria and stuff, and expectations that we are expected to maintain on an annual basis. So we are expected to maintain a certain height or certain weight standard for our height. And then also we are expected to perform certain fitness tests like combat fitness tests, physical fitness tests. And so a lot of people in the military, like they train specifically for those annual tests so they can obviously do well. I kind of stopped doing that, if that makes sense. Cause it was just like, you know, it was just a lot of pressure and it was taking away from what I wanted to accomplish and do on the bodybuilding side. But you know, what's crazy about bodybuilding is it just naturally like makes you fit. Like it does, like in the sense of just like from the strength training to the cardio endurance, like I personally don't have any issues when it comes to meeting these requirements, just because, you know, and I'm sure it has to do with my age, right? I've been doing this for some time. But yeah, like I don't change anything up or do anything different when preparing for these military obligations or expectations. I just do what I normally do and it aligns with, um, you know, my bodybuilding and like the plan set by my coach. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
alignment thing, right? Crazy. It just like it really helps out. But
Yeah.
I will say, like, my coach is very understanding when I'm just like, hey, ma'am, like, I'm sorry, like, I have to run this, da 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 da. Like, I am not going to do this workout before that, or you know, like, she'll help me with that, and she's completely understanding. You know, so that's been super helpful to have a coach that understands that.
For sure. Because if not, then you'd be feeling like even more pressure and your body would
Right.
not like physically it wouldn't feel good. The guilt would be
Yeah.
there because you feel like you're not acting the way you should be. Now, what inspired you to start coaching other people?
So it originally started because, I just feel like at that time, nobody knew how to properly take care of themselves or train themselves. And like we were just always taught to eat less and do more. Right. And then we have these height and weight standards and these like fitness tests and everything that we have to do. And again, struggling with my eating disorder and stuff, like I just naturally started sharing what I knew to help my Marines or help my peers out because I mean, I was using it. I'm not going to gatekeep.
Mhm.
And it eventually turned into, people asking us to train them because, my husband competes as well and everything like that. And I think we'll be 3 years old this year. And yeah, we just decided to give it a go. And we trained, we started off with a few clients, and now we have the honor and privilege of training a number of athletes and clients. We have a couple of pros, and it's so cool because, we love bodybuilding. We think it's
Yeah.
like the coolest thing. We bring our kids, we bring the minivan, we bring the cat, we go to shows like on the weekend. My kids eat rice cakes. Like it's yes, it's a business and it's a job, but like to us, it's fun. So, and then the fact that we get to help and like encourage and be there and coach people along the way to success or their goals, super cool.
That is super cool. And
Yeah.
how do you time that with like other work demands too?
I'm not gonna lie, like everything is done through my phone.
I bet.
And so like that's a hard thing. It's just like, you just try not to overwork, right? But it's hard to draw those boundaries. And it's just knowing when like, hey, like I need to shut it down tonight. Like our clients like, they know, like they respect us in our time. Like they know like, hey, they'll respond to us as soon as they can. So I think that really helps. And it's to us, it's about building relationships. So the fact that we have like these relationships with our clients and athletes, like, I mean, we work around each other's schedules and stuff. So I don't really feel like it's an added thing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, that's really cool. It just seamlessly fits. And
Yeah.
it sounds like your passion is really influential in your coaching. How have your own personal experiences influenced your approach?
I mean, I don't know if you can tell, this is our first conversation together. I'm really an open book and I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'll tell you how it is unfiltered. And I think becoming more vulnerable and sharing like my personal experiences with people, I think helps me as a coach because I think a lot are hesitant to, disclose that they're struggling with certain things. And when I just put it out there and like, hey, me personally, like I don't do this because it triggers this, like then it causes them to like open up, right? And be like, oh, well, me
Exactly.
too. And it just again, because what we like to do through Built by Brewer, it's not just, us giving them a plan and like holding them accountable. It's just like building a relationship with them because I think it's really important. And that's how I view my coaching relationship with my coach. Like it's really important to have that trusting, understanding, mutual respect, like kind of relationship with each other.
Mhm.
That's what we try to embody over at Built by Brewer. And so I hope that's like, I mean, that's the goal. That's what I want to be as a coach. Like, I want to help you to your goals, but I want you to learn as you're going and I want you to take ownership in your process, if that makes sense. Because that's just going to empower you further, whether you decide to stay with me or, go on, so.
That's right. That's what it's really about is like equipping other people to be able to do these things on their own. Like actually learn that it doesn't require you to just like shrink yourself or be super restricted. Instead, you can really grow. And you're doing this with your husband. So we had talked a little bit about him, but you said his support has been so important to you, such a huge part of this. What have you guys done to prioritize your relationship, your marriage with each other through these years of change? Because, like you said, I mean, going from meeting to baby in the first 4 months,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'd love to just hear like how you've prioritized your relationship.
We've always been honest with each other since day one, and we've always been ourselves around each other. Like, I think, and again, a majority of relationships, unfortunately, don't start that way, if that makes sense. Like, it's a facade or it's a mask. And then a
Meet
lot of
my
people,
best self that I'm making up and fabricating for you to fall in love with.
Right. It's just, you don't really, I mean, I just, until you're married and going through it, and until you go through your first, obstacle together or challenge together, I mean, you're just obviously going to grow and learn with each other over time. I think it definitely helps that obviously we have the same priorities. We don't have the same communication styles. We're complete polar opposites personality wise, but like our priorities are the same. And we find we have similar interests, like obviously the gym and lifting and competing is part of that. So I think that's been like the key to us. But as far as prioritizing it, like we get our gym day, like my kids love going to the gym daycare. They think it's fun. They get hyped to go to the gym. To them, that is part of their normal routine. So that's my time to like train and lift with my husband, catch up for the day right before we go home and start, the chaotic bedtime routine and, cat herding is what we call it. Like,
Yeah.
get the kids settled. But yeah, like I just think us spending time together and doing things we love together, but also having things for ourselves, I think that's really important, has led to our, I don't want to call it success, but has enabled us to love and support each other the best way. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's led to better connection, support, understanding, giving grace. Sounds like there's been a lot of that. And when you start from an honest place, it's easier to say, this is what I need, or this is what's going on today. Therefore, here's what, the expectation is, just being on the same page for each day. And you said that your guys' intention is better every day. And if you both are on that page, then you're going to be able to align with your behaviors and activities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think people realize, especially when they get into competing to become serious competitors or seasoned competitors, like your relationships change throughout that process, and you really find who your people are or what you want, right, as an individual. And rather than driving us apart, because obviously it can be argued that, this is a selfish sport and everything like that, like it's just brought us closer together. And I'm just really grateful for that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, clearly it's been something that's made you guys closer, and that's not the reality for a lot of people. Unfortunately, it can
Yeah.
drive people apart. And also, sometimes it's for the better, like sometimes it's important for people to step back and reevaluate, like, if I'm going to compete and have this relationship or and have these friendships, like, how does that need to look?
Yeah.
So I want to get your best advice, but before I do that, is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have?
No, I mean, I know I talked and went off on, some tangents and
And
stuff.
I love that, because that's what I like on this podcast.
I'm an open book. So, no, I really, again, I've just really appreciated our time together, and I really appreciate the opportunity to just, talk about my experience, and whether anyone can relate to that, that's awesome. But no, I think, we talked about, I mean, that's pretty much everything I am in a nutshell.
Well, I think you crushed it. And honestly, like your honesty, your vulnerability, willingness to share was so wonderful. And I think a lot of people are going to relate and probably feel a sense of relief, knowing like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it too. Or she was facing that, I'm facing that, and I can have the courage to overcome it. So
I think
thank
that's
you.
great.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, best advice. Let's go with best advice for someone who has never competed before but wants to, and then your best advice for someone on their road to pro.
I would say, so the best advice for someone who's never competed is have a full understanding of what you're wanting to do. Like we brought this up earlier in the conversation. I don't think people realize the mental and physical toll that competing takes on you, and financial. Like, let's not pretend this is a cheap sport, right? So I think just being informed is going to definitely align your priorities and whether or not competing is for you. And then also for first time competitors, just know, like, take the time to find a good coach, right? But also just know that it's not the coach or the plan. Like, you have to do the work. You have to do the work. And I just don't think a lot of people are kind of aware of that. They just think, oh, I've got this plan. Like, Like it's going to happen for me. It's like, no, like you're going to have to do the work and you're going to have to push through your good days and your bad days. So that's my advice for first time competitors. Be informed. And then again, just take ownership, know yourself. And then for those on their road to pro, take the time necessary. Don't put a expiration date on yourself. I think like someone asked me a similar question. I was like, don't put yourself in a box. Like, just again, like it's your journey, embrace the journey, and, you know, celebrate who you become during that journey. And I think, again, like going in with zero expectations other than the fact that like I did the work, I'm here to compete. I think that will set you up mentally and physically for the best, in my opinion. So I don't know if that's nice, but that's just, you know.
It's good word. It is good advice.
Yeah.
And I think both of us can probably relate. Like if we had known that early on, both of those pieces of advice, like it would have been more beneficial in our journey. And clearly it's been from lessons you've learned and positive experiences that you've had, as well as the negative ones that have taught you something. So I appreciate you sharing that. And I would love for people to connect with you. So how can people follow your journey, work with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I'm sorry, I'm the older millennial. I don't know much about like TikTok or anything like that, but Instagram, the Rip Mermaid, and then the coaching business my husband and I do together. It's called @Built by Brewer, and yeah, just message us on there, and that's pretty much, you know, where you can find me.
Amazing. We will put that in the show notes. So you guys, that's always on celestial.fit/podcast. If you are listening right away, it'll be at the top of the page. If you're listening in the future, scroll down to the category section, which is alphabetized. Not only will you find how you can connect with us, but you're also going to see a full summary of the episode. You'll see a bulleted list of the topics we covered, and you're going to see episode timestamps so you can go back and listen to your favorite parts or share it with your friends, your family, let them know what stood out to you. And of course, if you feel inspired to tag us when you listen or leave a rating and review, all of that goes a long way for the show, but even further for us as women, as people. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world, while you are listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.